Can you imagine waking up to the reality of your peaceful nation suddenly under siege? This was the harsh reality for Kuwait on the 2nd of August, 1990. In the blink of an eye, the serene landscape of Kuwait was transformed into a war zone. Iraq, under the leadership of Saddam Hussein, had launched a surprise attack on its smaller, oil-rich neighbor. The invasion was swift and brutal. Within a mere 2 days, the nation of Kuwait was under Iraqi control. The world was taken aback by the audacity of this sudden invasion. Following the invasion, the international community was quick to respond. The United Nations Security Council, a body dedicated to maintaining international peace and security, was swift to condemn Iraq's unprovoked aggression. This wasn't a simple reprimand, though. The Security Council imposed economic sanctions on Iraq, a move aimed at crippling its economy and forcing its withdrawal from Kuwait. These sanctions were not just a slap on the wrist. They were a powerful tool in the international community's arsenal, designed to put immense pressure on Iraq's economy. The sanctions targeted a broad range of economic activities, from trade and financial transactions to air travel and diplomatic relations. The goal was clear: to isolate Iraq economically and diplomatically until it capitulated and withdrew from Kuwait. Yet, despite the international backlash, Iraq remained defiant. Their iron grip over Kuwait did not waver. The world watched horrified as the peaceful nation of Kuwait was plunged into turmoil, its people living under the shadow of foreign occupation. The world watched in shock as the once peaceful nation of Kuwait was now under the grip of Iraq's iron fist. In the face of such aggression, the world responded. A coalition was formed with the United States, Saudi Arabia, the United Kingdom, and Egypt at the helm. The invasion of Kuwait by Iraq had not only sparked international outrage, but had also threatened global peace and security. The coalition's formation was not a simple task. It required a complex blend of diplomatic and military maneuvers. Diplomatically, the United Nations Security Council swiftly condemned Iraq's actions and imposed economic sanctions. These sanctions were designed to squeeze Iraq's economy, forcing them to withdraw from Kuwait. But diplomacy was only one side of the coin. On the military front, a massive buildup of forces was underway, particularly by the United States. The operation was given a name that would soon become synonymous with the conflict: Operation Desert Shield. The aim was to deter any further Iraqi aggression and protect Saudi Arabia, a key ally and crucial to the world's oil supply. The justification for this intervention was clear. Iraq's invasion was a blatant violation of international law. The sovereignty of Kuwait had been trampled upon, and the world could not stand idly by. Moreover, there were fears that Iraq's dictator, Saddam Hussein, might next set his sights on Saudi Arabia, a scenario that would have had significant global implications. The coalition was a testament to international solidarity. It consisted of 42 countries, each contributing in its way, from financial support to military personnel and equipment. It was a clear message to Saddam Hussein and any future aggressors: the world would not tolerate such flagrant acts of aggression. The stage was set for a military intervention, the likes of which the world hadn't seen in years. January 17, 1991, marked the beginning of Operation Desert Storm, an aerial bombing campaign against Iraq. This was not just a show of power, but a strategic move to weaken Iraq's defenses and pave the way for the impending ground assault. The early stages of the operation were marked by a flurry of battles. Coalition forces were met with resistance, but their superior air power and strategic planning often tipped the scales in their favor. The air campaign was relentless, with the coalition forces launching more than 100,000 sorties, targeting key military installations, communication lines, and infrastructure. The aim was clear: to cripple Iraq's ability to wage war and to minimize the coalition's casualties in the anticipated ground offensive. While the air campaign was in full swing, the counter-reconnaissance operations were equally critical. These operations were designed to disrupt and confuse the Iraqi forces, making them second-guess the coalition's intentions and movements. The goal was to keep the enemy off balance, making it easier for the coalition forces to strike when the time was right. But the war was not confined to the desert sands of Iraq and Kuwait. The conflict reached as far as Israel and Saudi Arabia, where Iraq launched Scud missile strikes. This move was seen as an attempt to break the coalition by drawing Israel into the conflict, a move that could have potentially alienated Arab nations within the coalition. But the coalition held firm, and Israel refrained from retaliating, maintaining the unity of the diverse coalition forces. The war took a significant turn when Iraqi forces invaded Saudi Arabia, resulting in the Battle of Khafji. This was the first major ground engagement of the war, and it tested the mettle of the coalition forces. Despite initial setbacks, the coalition managed to repel the invasion, marking a significant victory that boosted the morale of the forces and set the stage for the ground assault. The war was escalating, and the world watched as the coalition forces prepared for a ground assault. The air campaign and the counter-reconnaissance operations had laid the groundwork, and now it was time to take the fight to the enemy on the ground. February 28, 1991, marked the liberation of Kuwait, a victory for the coalition forces. The ground campaign was an integral part of this victory. It was a complex operation involving strategic maneuvering and precise execution. The coalition forces, primarily led by the United States, Saudi Arabia, the United Kingdom and Egypt, undertook a series of tactical moves to reclaim Kuwait from the grip of Iraqi forces. The liberation of Kuwait was no small feat. It was a testament to the strength and unity of the coalition forces. They were able to penetrate the defenses of the Iraqi forces and free the Kuwaiti people from the clutches of oppression. This was a victory not just for the coalition, but for the principles of justice and freedom. With Kuwait liberated, the coalition forces then made their initial moves into Iraq. The goal was to ensure that Iraq could not pose a threat to the region in the future. The coalition forces entered Iraq, marking a decisive step towards the end of hostilities. Despite the challenges and the intensity of the conflict, the coalition forces were able to maintain their composure and execute their strategy effectively. They were met with resistance, but their determination and resilience carried them through. As the coalition forces advanced into Iraq, the end of active hostilities was in sight. The forces of Iraq were on the back foot, and their capacity to wage war was significantly diminished. The coalition forces had managed to turn the tide of the war and were on the brink of securing a comprehensive victory. The Gulf War marked a significant turning point in military history, introducing live news broadcasts from the front lines and showcasing three of the largest tank battles in American military history. The Gulf War left a significant imprint, not only on those directly involved, but also on the rest of the world. The aftermath was a complex blend of relief, triumph, and tragedy. It was an event that, in many ways, redefined modern warfare and whose impact is still felt today. The human cost of war can never be underestimated. The war claimed the lives of thousands of soldiers and civilians alike. Yet, the toll didn't end there. Many veterans returned home with a mysterious ailment now known as the Gulf War Syndrome, a debilitating condition marked by fatigue, chronic headaches, and memory problems. The war also marked a significant environmental catastrophe. The Iraqi forces, in their retreat, set fire to over 600 oil wells in Kuwait, leading to what is now known as the Highway of Death. The fires raged for months, creating a dark, apocalyptic landscape, a stark reminder of the devastating power of modern warfare. Amid the physical destruction, the war also saw the use of depleted uranium in munitions for the first time, a decision whose implications are still being understood. The health effects of exposure to this material are severe, and the environmental impact is long-lasting. areas exposed to depleted uranium remained dangerous for decades, posing a threat to both human life and the natural ecosystem. The economic impact of the war was staggering. The cost ran into hundreds of billions of dollars, a burden borne not just by the nations directly involved, but also by developing countries around the world. The global oil price hike caused by the war led to economic instability and hardship in many parts of the world. The Gulf War was a stark reminder of the devastating impacts of conflict and the importance of promoting peace. It's a lesson in the high cost of war, not just in terms of dollars and cents, but in human lives, environmental health, and global stability. Before we end this video, remember that understanding history is crucial to preventing its repetition. Subscribe to our channel for more insights into historical events. Together, let's promote peace and understanding in our world.